ChatGPT is truly unique among AI. Google has twice tried their hands at it and has given us the iconic Black George Washington and unique methods on treating depression. This is just a testament to how good ChatGPT actually is. But is it good enough to beat Todd Howard's greatest creation? Can ChatGPT beat Fallout 4? Allow me to wax eloquently on what I mean by can ChatGPT beat Fallout 4. Obviously, the website can't play the game, but I can get a step-by-step guide on how to beat it. So before I even booted up the game, I went to ChatGPT and asked for a guide. The one it provided, though, was horribly vague after Kellogg's death. This is because it didn't know what faction I was going to side with, and faction quests take up about half the game. So I had ChatGPT pick one out for me and make a new guide. Then I mashed the two together into this lovely monstrosity. In addition to the mainline quests, I also had it pick out for me 12 side quests to complete, which were the following: Painting the Town, Diamond City Blues, Silver Shroud, The Big Dig, Tradecraft and Butcher's Bill with the Railroad, Quarter Mastery and Cleansing the Commonwealth with the BOS, Taking Independence and Defend the Castle with the Minutemen, Kid in a Fridge, and The Secret of Cabot House. But before I can start any quests, I gotta make my character. ChatGPT is truly an AI of culture, as it's picked a female protagonist 3 times in a row. It then told me to pick the exotic race known as Nora, which I think is your basic vanilla woman. As far as naming goes, we're also stuck with Aria Wanderer. I don't know what to tell you. It can't name for beans. My special points are also very basic, and I'm not gonna lie, this character creation is very boring. I then showed my lack of experience with this game by asking ChatGPT to pick out a starting perk, thinking that Fallout 4's character creation would be similar to New Vegas or 3. It wasn't. It was actually very confusing because my brain is smoother than a baby's butt. By now I've had a front seat to my hubby's funeral and watched CPS take my child. As I made my way out, I began looking for a usable weapon. In addition to the many quests I have to do, I also had ChatGPT make out a weapons and armors list for me that I would have to collect throughout the game. And for added challenge, I'm limiting myself to only using the weapons and armors that it picks out for me. For weapons, I've got the 10mm pistol, combat rifle, combat shotgun, 44 Magnum revolver, hunting rifle, the Deliverer, Righteous Authority, Big Boy, Grognak's Axe, and Old Faithful. Fortunately, you can get the 10mm right off the bat, so at least I'm not defenseless. I am naked though, as the only armors I can wear are combat armor, heavy or sturdy combat armor, power armor of the T60 and X01 variety, shadowed leather armor, chameleon armor, synth armor, and combat armor, but with ballistic weave applied. Needless to say, I'm gonna be naked for quite some time, as these are all hard to come by. After a quick chat with Cogsworth, I picked up dog meat at the Red Rocket. ChatGPT was very generous this time around and gave me 3 companions to choose from. With my best boy beside me, I moseyed on over to Concord to witness Preston's excellent marksmanship. You know you're desperate when a naked woman is your best bet on getting out alive. I yoinked the fusion core, cleared out the raiders, and did not use the power armor as it's T45. Instead, I lured the Deathclaw out to take care of the raiders, and then killed it by hiding inside a building that it couldn't get into. I told Preston to frick off the sanctuary, and made my way to Diamond City. There I met Piper, who's a journalist, and therefore annoying. But she did get me into the city, so I guess she's good for one thing. Inside, I witnessed a small family squabble, then wandered around to see about some quests. I got hired to get some paint for the billboard that Abbott worships. Simple enough, just had to kill the worst criminals I've ever seen. I then snagged me the paint and a hunting rifle while I was at it. I was feeling a little parched afterwards, and made my way to the local tavern. It was here that I met New England's saddest cuck, Paul Pembroke. He asked to borrow my balls really quick, so he can go confront the man diddling his wife. Having no balls to give, I offered my body instead, and we confronted Henry together. While killing Henry would have been therapeutic for Paul, ChatGPT decided that he would remain a cuck. In a twist of fate, I'm teaming up with Henry to double-cross his boss to steal some drugs and caps. If it went smooth enough, then I got a buttload of caps, so I'm pretty happy. I just had to wander around the 4-leaf fish packing plant for way longer than I'm willing to admit, and I finally finished off Diamond City Blues. Upon returning to the city, I found the gun that carried me all the way till the end. It's a 10mm pistol that does nearly twice the damage at the perfect firing rate. Properly armed, stocked up on tomatoes, and with Piper at my side, I stormed Vault 114 to find Nick. Their fedoras were no match for me. I found Nick chillin' and escorted him to the surface. On our way out, Skitty Malone tried to stop us, but it was really Darla who scared me, which is why I took her out first. Once we got back to Nick's office, I told Piper to hit the road. It felt on theme to have Nick as my dude. After persuading the mayor to let me into Kellogg's house, I had Dogmeat hit one of his blunts in hopes that he could pick up the trail. He's used to fetching balls, but not tripping them, so we zigzagged all over the wasteland, but eventually found the baby napper. I massively overprepared for this fight by shooting up with Psycho, Jet, Medics, and a Tato. The Medics wasn't even necessary, it was over so quick. From his corpse I received 2 prizes, his brain and a unique .44 Magnum revolver. It was also right around this time that I finally figured out how to navigate the perk menu and got that starter perk I mentioned a while ago. It's Idiot Savant, in case you're wondering. I took a little break from the main quest here to live out my hobo fantasy by riding the railroad. To my surprise and disappointment, there were no trains in sight, just a decrepit building and a feller named Deacon. I used my womanly charms on him to get hired for a mission. On the way to our rendezvous, another stroke of luck hit me. My first piece of usable armor, a shadowed leather right arm. It's good not to be naked anymore. Deacon and I breezed through the building that took so many railroad lives, and he rewarded me with a rather useless gun, the Deliver. It's useless because it's worse than my current 10mm, but it did provide me with a sweet silencer that I later stole from my OP gun. So I guess it's not completely useless. We returned to the railroad, had a stroke, and completed Tradecraft. Now that I was part of their little club, I could get to work on my other railroad quests, namely Butcher's Bill and getting the recipe for the Ballistic Weave mod. Both of these, unfortunately, had prerequisite quests that you have to complete before you can even start them. This became a common theme, and I just don't have the time to recount all the extra stuff I had to do in this run. So I'll be glossing over most of the non-ChatGPT assigned quests. After partaking in some non-human trafficking, I was given the task of checking up on one of the railroad's safe houses. Looks like we got some squatters, and they're trying to convert it into Famous Dave's. Clearing out the joint took a while, but I made a happy discovery in the midst of it. I had been carrying around this sniper rifle for quite some time with the intention of selling it. I took the scope off thinking I could mount it on my hunting rifle and discovered that it was actually a modded combat rifle. And the best part is Nick has been hoarding ammo. After butchering the bill, I started to work towards the Ballistic Weave. You gotta get into the railroad's good graces before Tinker Tom will bless you with this knowledge. To do so, I built a brand new safe house for the railroad to replace the one that got barbecued. I'm sure its lack of beds, food, or any usable shelter won't be a problem for future residents. Tom didn't seem to care either and bestowed on me his forbidden knowledge. And it truly is forbidden to me as I made a very painful discovery. You can't apply Ballistic Weave to armor. It only works on clothing. Being a Fallout New Vegas main, I didn't realize there was a difference. And I didn't figure out there was a difference until I leveled up my armor perk to 4 stars, which, in case you aren't aware, that takes a lot of levels. I don't know if I should count this as complete since I did do all the work to obtain the mod, I just can't use it. Oh well, I moved on from the railroad and journeyed up to Goodneighbor. Finn threatened to kill me right in front of me and thought he could get away with it. Don't really think he thought that one through. Afterwards, I bought some more shadowed leather armor from Kilo, took a swim in Kellogg's brain, and set forth to get some combat armor. I heard that the Jamaicans have been hoarding it and headed south. I had to fight through a butt-ton of ghouls, but I was eventually able to claim my prize. It was around this time that I began to suspect that clothes and armor were 2 different things, but still hadn't figured out that it couldn't be applied to armor at this point. I didn't choose the nudist life. The nudist life chose me. Or rather, ChatGPT chose the nudist life, which has me more than a little concerned about what will happen after AI takes over the world. I figured it was around time I got myself a melee weapon, so I headed up to Hubris Comics, where I got a 2-for-1 special, Rognak's Axe and the Silver Shroud armor. On that note, I got to roleplay as a murdery Batman for a bit, so that was pretty cool. Not because the plot was amazing, but because the dialogue was just so stupid. After I cleaned up the streets, my ghoulish Jimmy Olsen got kidnapped. I blew the kidnapper's brains out and then put down his ghouls who had already surrendered, since they knew my secret identity. After not dying as a hero, I voluntarily became a villain. Bobby Nose needs my help breaking into Diamond City's strongroom. I assembled my crew, dug a tunnel, and was betrayed. The noseless broad lied to me. Yes, if you couldn't tell, that is a woman. Instead of a vault full of riches and Twinkies, it's just some other noseless fool's backyard. She paid for that deception. I then turned my focus to getting some power armor. I had done a little research beforehand and found that there is a full suit of X01 armor at the top of 35 Court. Getting to the roof was child's play, but the sentry bot on top was freaking unkillable. It was a legendary sentry bot that would mutate at 50% health, regenerating all its lost HP and making it nigh unto immortal. I did hand Nick a fat man at one point, but that just made him more of a hazard than a help. I was pumping up all the drugs I could, Psycho, Medics, Jet, Buff, but as soon as it mutated, my bullets barely tickled it, and not in a good way. I got super close to killing it at one point, but when your only cover is a twig, things don't tend to end too well. After nearly 15 minutes of constant death, I managed to jump to another roof, where I could safely cheese it to death. This was arguably the hardest fight of the run, but it was all worth it once I got my T51 power armor. I didn't read the wiki close enough. It's a chance of spawning X01, and only if you're a high enough level. You know, let's change focus before I off myself. I found Dance at the Cambridge police station and helped him murder some ghouls. A short conversation later, and he was trusting me with a vitally important mission. We cleared out ArcJet systems together, and I made sure to fry both my companions, after which I was rewarded with righteous authority. My ADD kicked in right about here, and I completely switched gears to work with no one's favorite faction, the Minutemen. And to my chagrin, the 2 quests that ChatGPT assigned to me are late game quests. I had to help 4 useless settlements before I could even begin the first quest. The real quest is to clear out the castle, which is a decrepit fort infested with crabs, but it's Preston's dream home for some reason. After wasting a butt ton of ammo on the Mega Crab, I unfortunately had to stop my adventures with the Minutemen. I don't think ChatGPT really understands how factions work. Defend the castle is a quest that will make enemies out of the Brotherhood of Steel and will lock you into the Minuteman questline, which I can't have because the faction I'm supposed to join is the Brotherhood. So we're gonna have to skip this quest. Speaking of the Brotherhood, I got flown up to the Pridwin, spoke to Elder Maxon, and was given a full set of T61 power armor. I also managed to steal an X01 helmet from Proctor Tegan, which I'm counting as good enough to mark off that objective. I then returned to Cambridge to work on the Quartermastery quest. Scribe Halen has infinite fetch quests that can be repeated for infinite EXP. I completed the first fetch quest pretty quickly, but I didn't realize that the quest was over. By this point, I'm about 18 hours into this run, so I'm no longer listening to dialogue, and I didn't realize that the quest was completed because a duplicate Quartermastery quest was on my Pip-Boy. I ended up doing it 3 more times before I figured that out, one of which took me all the way to Far Harbor. 9 quests down, 3 more to go. My next victim is the Fridge Kid. He's been locked in there for more than 200 years and it's way past his bedtime, so I'm taking him home. On our way, I may or may not have genocided an entire village of gunners, but in my defense, they nuked me first. I finally reunited Billy with his parents, and his dad paid me some extra caps for killing all those gunners. So all's well that ends well, except it didn't end too well for Billy. Like I said, I've been clicking through the dialogue, and the conversation ended, abruptly. Ooh, nice. Oh my goodness, I did not mean to do that. Oh, but it's complete, yeah. I then swapped Nick out for Dogmeat as he's about one murder away from turning on me. Dogmeat is great because he doesn't complain when I kill innocent people, nor does he complain when I use him as a pack mule for my illegal power armor flipping operation. I need a lot of caps to purchase the big boy, and there's only so many kidneys you can sell before people start looking at you funny. In pursuit of more caps, I took a job with a rich client to track down his retarded runaway sister. I persuaded Thomas to let Imogene go, and returned to my client Jack to help him out with another family matter. And you know me, I'm always up for a good patricide. And so is ChatGPT, it turns out. I received my next mission from the Brotherhood: clear out Fort Strong. I couldn't use the vertibird to get there since you have to use the minigun to kill the muties, otherwise you'll just be stuck in the bird forever. So I cursed the Black Pearled my way over and performed an amphibious landing. I killed the normal Shreks easy enough, but the behemoth was another matter. His heat-seeking boulders tore through my armor faster than a weeb tears through body pillows. Once again, I employed my patented cheese from a distance technique. Shortly after, I made the long, uneventful journey to Virgil's cave, convinced him to help out, returned to Diamond City, and finally bought the big boy. And he not just a big boy, he a good boy too. Took out the courser and Dogmeat in one shot, but I couldn't have PETA catching wind of my animal abuse, so no witnesses. But don't feel too bad. This wasn't murder since, synths aren't people anyways. I then visited my very good friends down at the railroad to have the course's chip examined. I've only got one more side quest to do before I can put my full focus into the main quests. And it's a real nothing burger of a quest. I just had to kill some ghouls for the most caked up night in the BOS. Then I got to Minecrafting and built a teleporter, beamed into the Institute, and told my son, Father, to go soak his head. Maxon didn't like that at all, and punished me by making me talk to Dr. Skara, who in turn sent me even further into the glowing sea to fetch some nukes. And after doing all that, I realized I made a grave error. You know that chameleon armor that I haven't gotten yet? It's actually a rare loot drop that can only be found by killing legendary enemies. There's only one surefire way of obtaining any armor that has the chameleon mod applied to it, and that is by purchasing it from the Institute. So I undid all my progress, sucked up to Dad, killed a few nearby synths to sell their armor because I was a little lacking in the caps department, and bought the chameleon synth armor, checking off my last 2 armor objectives. Then I recruited Dr. Lee so I wouldn't have to deal with Skara again, nuked Diamond City, and cleared out the Sentinel site again. Sweet, we're all caught up. Oh no, a crisis has befallen me. My bestest friend in the whole world is a synth. No, not Dogmeat. Dance, the guy I haven't spoken to since I turned him into a crispy critter. Maxon, however, was convinced that because of my deep relationship with this guy that I must have already known. He also decided that someone emotionally attached to Dance should be the one to execute him. Weird, but okay. Fortunately for Dance, ChatGPT stepped in and saved its AI brother. After a delightful visit with the railroad, Ingram and I raided Mass Fusion. This was actually a bit of a challenge, considering my arsenal. It's not exactly the most powerful weapons at my disposal. I only had a few mini-nukes, and most of my guns weren't great at penetrating synth armor, especially at a distance. I did eventually push through to the reactor chamber, where I discovered you can actually activate then deactivate the Assaultrons. This will open up their doors, but it won't wake them up, which is pretty sweet for me. The sentry bot didn't go down as easily. However, compared to his roided out cousin from earlier, this guy was a pushover. I plugged the big AA into Liberty Prime, and together we burned a hole to China. The combat monkeys proved to be a poor investment for the Institute. Turns out that bullets are much better at killing than apes. I made sure to kill any and all unarmed scientists I came across, gave Dad a new face hole, told my fake son to go frick himself, nuked the joint, and unloaded in the Maxon as the screen faded to black. So to answer the titular question, can ChatGPT beat Fallout 4? For the most part. Its basic guide worked, but it doesn't really understand how armor or factions work. I'll give it a B+. It got a few things wrong, but did most of it right. Thanks for watching. This run took for freaking ever. 30.5 hours. That's twice as long as my average run on this channel. That deserves a like, man. And, in my most humble opinion, a sub too. Bro, Fallout 4 is just so much longer. Or rather, it just takes so much longer to do anything. This was actually my first time playing all the way through Fallout 4. I've seen Mitten Squad's playthroughs, and so I had a general idea of the story, but the guide actually came in a little handy now and then. Well, I'd better let you go now. Y'all have a good night. Captain out. I can finally wear something. It's shadowed leather armor. It's a frickin' shoulder pad. Huzzah, I'm not naked.